Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Sky U Pod. I'm joined here with Max. Max, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Glad to
Yeah,
be moving on after the loss from last week.
I was
I
gonna
know we didn't
say
get to the recap.
we weren't we weren't running from it. It was just it
Yeah,
really was a schedule thing. I was out of state. I didn't want to come back after that last game, unfortunately. But we'll touch on it here and there as we talk this one through. Your Gophers are currently 5-3, as we know, hosting Michigan State this Saturday at Huntington Bank. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like it just 5-3 was very. I it going back to our preseason prediction. I had us at 5-3 at this point in the season,
yeah.
and yet it doesn't feel like how I thought it would feel.
No,
So
right.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
like
It.
I feel like all the
Go ahead.
wins and losses we've probably predicted pretty close, especially like the games specifically. But the way in which we've won and lost has not looked how I think we expected them to look at all.
Right. Right.
And none of it's
And
really
we're
like the Nebraska one's really the only one that maybe surprised us.
Yeah, that's the one. I had Nebraska as a loss preseason, and I had the Cal game as a W. So we flip flopped those, which is okay, I guess. Obviously, I think we're gonna probably want the Cal game back looking at it, but it is what it is. So here's how we're gonna start. We do have here at the College Huddle a Michigan State podcast, and I was able to sit down with them yesterday and do a little preview and record that for you guys here. So, Winston from the Spartan Savant was able to join us, and we'll take a look at that discussion now as we preview this game. All right, joining me now is Willie from the Spartan Savants podcast, our College Huddle uh, teammate there for Michigan State. Winston, thank you so much for joining us. How's it going tonight?
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. Going good. Tough coming off a loss to the Michigan Wolverines, but outside of that, everything's all right.
Yeah. We're in the same boat. We just got thumped by our rival too, so no worries there. I just wanted to start and maybe get you know, your expectations and what they were coming into this season. I believe it's Jonathan Smith's second year. I think it's a second year there. You guys have Joe Rossi over there as well, who left here for there, and we're just Gopher friends are curious. Just what were your expectations this year? Before the season played out.
Yeah, I think my expectations were probably a little higher than the fan base in general. I really expected to see steps forward from the coaching staff, quarterback with Childs, offensive line. I really expected in general all things to take a step forward. I think general consensus across the fan base was 7-5. A lot of people expecting a bowl game. I really liked the way the schedule shook out for us. I mean, don't have to play Ohio State, didn't have to play Oregon, got Michigan and Penn State at home. That's. I still think the schedule was there for us. Obviously, things haven't gone as planned, but I do think I think the fan base was pretty all in terms of expectations aligned in that 7-5 at very minimum 6-6 and you get to a bowl game. Obviously those things could still happen, but given how the team looks, I don't think people are holding their breath on either of those things. It's been tough sledding so far for Jonathan Smith in his second year. But really, I think the biggest thing for people was seeing progress. And that seems to be seriously lacking right now, which is kind of leading to, what you're seeing from the Spartans.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to it there. It seems to be, especially since the last 2 weeks, I'm seeing more and more push for Jonathan Smith to be on the hot seat. I guess we'll start with: do you think he's on the hot seat at all? Like, could he actually be fired this year? And I guess what were you besides like all of it? I guess what were you maybe hoping to see more progress in as far as him being in year two?
Sure. Yeah, I do think so. Last week on our show, I said I didn't think he was going to be fired. I really thought they were going to fire him after the Indiana game, and when they didn't, I was a bit surprised, and I thought that maybe they were kind of in this for the long haul to see how it goes, or at least giving him one more year. But listening to the local media and just what I follow on social media, it doesn't sound like anyone's expecting him to stay, which is surprising to me. I just don't know why they haven't fired him yet, if that's the case. I don't see the benefit necessarily in keeping him for the last 4 or 5 games here, whatever, 4 games left, that it will be to fire him now. The buyout is a bit prohibitive. It's like $31 million, I think, which is not nothing. It's not Brian Kelly's buyout, but
Right.
I think that certainly plays a factor. But again, just to kind of circle back, based on what I'm seeing and hearing, it doesn't sound like he's going to be around for a third season. I do think there's part of this administration, and it's a new athletic director too, which I think adds to it all as well. He didn't hire Smith, so I think that also plays a factor. It feels to me like they're looking for a reason to keep him, just like some kind of bright spot, which I think he's having a hard time showing. In terms of what I was expecting to see better, I really thought Aiden Childs would take a big step forward. And it looked like probably for the month of September that he was going to. But his play in October has been really poor. Another thing that I was looking forward or looking to see more out of was the offensive line. They talked about it all offseason having depth and in that room, and it just hasn't shown. They got some injuries early on, and there just doesn't seem there's no strength there. The running game has not been strong. Childs, in the games that he does have time, he's sloppy. In the games that he looks better, there's no time to throw. And then the defense. I think the defense it's been bad for the past 4 or 5 years, and it's been bad under each different coach we've had. But again, I was just looking for a step forward, something that wasn't as bad as last year. And that's the side of the ball I feel like we've taken a huge step back at. They're just, to me, the glaring issue seems there's really no identity with this team. And that's something that you'd like to see forming,
Right.
A year and a half into a season and a half into a rebuild. I wasn't expecting, competing for a Big Ten championship or anything like that, but I was looking for obvious progress, and it's obvious that there hasn't been any.
Yeah. I was just curious. It doesn't sound like, you mentioned what the local reports are saying. Is there any chance, just with how big it looks like this coaching carousel is getting with all these job openings, that Michigan State might think maybe hold on to him 1 year? Do you think there's anything he could do to keep his job at this point, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything he can do. I really don't know. I think the problem that he's facing is that he's not connecting with the fan base or the donors whatsoever. I forget the product on the field, right? I think if you just looked at the product on the field, you could make the argument they should have been fired weeks ago. Sure. But I think the biggest issue he's facing is that donors are not answering his calls or athletic director's calls. The fans are not happy. Now, having said that, I don't think there is, but let's just say in a world where he rattles off, let's say he wins the next 4 games, they go 7-5. I think they might have a hard time firing him at that point because of what you said, given the coaching carousel where it's at. You don't want to be competing against Florida, LSU, those types of programs. I'm drawing a blank on the other ones that are open for jobs. Having said that, I think the guy that Michigan State is likely looking to hire is probably not coming from that Brian Kelly, James Franklin group. As much as I would I would love for them to hire James Franklin. I think they probably would go with someone a little more. Yeah, right. I think it'd be an interesting hire, but I think they'll probably go for someone a little more under the radar. But again, I still think anyone, if you're going to go after top names that are available, you're going to be competing with a larger group than you probably would like. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying. I do think they're looking for a reason to keep him. And I think rattling off the next 4 games, that might be the reason. While I think it's unlikely, I do think the coaching carousel and the current landscape could play a factor. And if there is a reason to keep him, they will. Another thing that I think people are ignoring because they're so upset about how this year's going, the roster turnover that you face, even when you're not changing coaches, is really difficult to deal with. If you fire a coach, you know, the roster turnover is not going to be pretty. And the recruiting situation right now is already not pretty. And you're going to talk about a roster that's going to be pretty bare, even with the guys. Let's say the guys that they have now are not, obviously not the best in the game here. So you get rid of a lot of those guys. You're asking a lot of a new coach coming in.
Sure.
So there's a lot of factors in play here. I really don't know. I thought they would have fired him already if they were going to, but everyone keeps telling me that there's no way he's going to be around.
Okay. I'm just surprised that he, if that is the situation, that he didn't try and maybe save himself by, I brought up Rossi. I haven't seen a lot of Spartan fans super happy with the defense, like you already mentioned. I was surprised, like, if he wouldn't just try and save himself there earlier on, obviously before we got to this point by making a switch there. But I just, what are your thoughts on, I guess, the Joe Rossi season and a half era? Obviously hasn't been what you hoped for.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you. I would have loved a shakeup. I think they should have fired the offensive coordinator probably a long time ago. But Joe Rossi, to get to your question, I actually, and you might get mixed answers depending on who you ask. I am in the camp that I don't think it's his fault. I think you're asking him to make a great dinner with really bad groceries. I think his game plans, have been fine. I don't think that they've necessarily been the issue. I think some of his game plans have actually given us the opportunity to win games. I don't know if you watched the game at all last week, but he moved down from the press box to the sidelines for the Michigan game, and he was coaching his ass off. He looked like the only one that had any kind of fire under his belly. Jonathan Smith is very stoic, does not get excited, doesn't really yell, just kind of sits there with his arms crossed, which is one thing Spartans fans doesn't sit well with them.
Yeah.
Rossi was, they showed him more on the broadcast than they showed Jonathan Smith, which I thought was interesting. I really wouldn't mind if Rossi were to hang around with a new staff, depending on who they hire and who they could bring in. But
right.
Just specifically looking at him, I don't think it's his fault. The defense hasn't been good, but it hasn't been good under the past, through the last three coaches, if you count Harlan Barnett. It wasn't great under Tucker. It wasn't good under Barnett, and it hasn't been good under Jonathan Smith. And again, you're looking at the roster. I just don't think we have the guys. In his game plan, you're asking him to put together a game plan with a team that has no pass rush, a team that has a defensive backfield that is not a strength at all, and it's just that's a big ask.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think it's been his fault. I have no issues with him. I'm sure if I watched film and watched every single game and said, okay, I probably would do this differently, but I really don't think he's not where I would be pointing the finger.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we were really excited to get him. People spoke very highly of him. Were you guys bummed when you lost him?
Oh yeah. Well, it was kind of interesting because he had like one of his more disappointing seasons, I would say, his last year. But yeah, he was a staple of being really PJ's like right-hand guy the whole time he was here, at least through his success.
Right.
We had that stretch there. If you take off the COVID year, we had that 2019, 2021, and 2022 with really, really good defenses, and so. Yeah, I thought it was going to work, to be honest, because I think he's from that area, or at least a little bit more out east than Minnesota.
Yeah, I think he definitely has some ties to the Midwest for sure.
So, yeah, I thought it was going to work.
Me too.
We were bummed to lose him. We hit a home run with Heatherman the following year, but then Miami came and snagged him. So, I am curious that I've talked about I've messaged the guys on this pod about I wonder if there's a scenario where Rossi ends up back here if they really do move on from Smith. But
I could see that.
We'll see. That's a little bit out there as far as Gopher fans want to think at this point. But
do you know what? Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Do you know what? It's your show, so I really do apologize. Do you know what kind of drove him to leave? Was it a money thing? Was it he was looking for more opportunity to maybe be a head coach, or?
So a lot of speculation. The money definitely helped because I don't remember the exact figure, but I think he was getting I want to say it was like an extra $200K a year, and it
Yeah.
was guaranteed. I think is
Yeah.
what I remember. I might have the figure wrong, but it was a significant increase. It was closer to home, and honestly, we were coming off a 5-7 year, and it might have felt like the more stable time to leave. Like it was a little bit shakier ground. It felt like we were in, especially with the Big Ten West going away. I think last year was a high pressure year for PJ, and he was able to go 7-5, so he kind of staved that off. And now it's now we're kind of back to being unhappy a little bit right now. But I think it was just for him. It was an opportunity to move on and kind of move up the ranks of trying something new. And the extra money definitely doesn't hurt. So that's I think that's the general thought process of why he took it.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna bring us back more to this game now on this upcoming Saturday, 2:30. I know a lot about. I shouldn't say know a lot about. We hear a lot about Aiden Childs. Really mobile. Like you kind of brought up, maybe a little bit inconsistent, but sounds like it could be a product of everyone. Just what are some other guys? We'll start with offense that Gopher fans should be aware of who we're gonna have to watch out for in this game.
Yeah, I think Childs really all goes through Childs. It just what Aiden Childs shows up on Saturday is really kind of the he's the guy that if he's on, like he's going to be a problem for your defense, and that's in terms of running the ball and passing the ball. But he hasn't been on in a while. But to answer the question you asked, I think the receiving core is pretty solid. I think it gets underlooked or overlooked just because of how bad the team is in general and how inconsistent the quarterback play has been. But Nick Marsh is a star. He's a guy that if he were to transfer, there would be SEC schools lined up ready for him to come. He's been a star, and they've got to find a way to get him the ball more. I think last game he had 6 catches for 75 yards. Even to me, that's just not enough. Like he really is a guy that is a difference maker, and really causes defense a lot of problems. And then Amari Kelly, more of a slot kind of speed guy. He came in over from I can't remember what school he transferred from. He got him in the portal this year. Another really talented guy that can make plays. And then Krayshawn McCray, the third receiver, again, probably not a guy you'll see on the stat book very often, but he's a weapon for sure. The problem we just haven't been able to get the passing game going. Outside of that, the running game, Mekhi Frazier and Brandon Tulis, and they use a third running back every now and then, Elijah Tolliver. They're not going to give people a lot of fits. Not that I don't think the talent's there. Mekhi Frazier has shown big run ability and ability to make plays, but the offensive line just doesn't give us much of an advantage in the run game. But those are probably
fans feel you there. We're having the same issue. So.
And the offensive line's a big deal, man. I tell you, everyone they love the stars and running backs and these big names, but those don't happen without really solid offensive lines. But and that's the receivers. I think is probably Nick Marsh being the biggest name is probably who you want to keep an eye on the most.
That would be an interesting matchup just because our Gopher fans, the secondary is so hot and cold. It feels like really the whole defense has been hot and cold on and off, like from play to play even. But that'll definitely be an interesting matchup, and if we're able to contain Childs or not. And I know there's not a lot of
I was gonna say the
positivity being thrown to the defense, but I guess if there's a guy making a play on defense out there for the Spartans, who's a name or two that's out there making plays? Sure.
Jordan Hall, I think he plays middle linebacker. He's been a star, leading tackler. I think he averages – this number could be way off, but every time I see the stats, he's got at least 10 tackles. So I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged 12 tackles a game. Now, he got injured in the Michigan game. I think he's questionable for this week. So the guy I would tell you to look out for may not even be there. And overall, the defensive line is not going to scare anybody. And the defensive backfield depleted. And, there's just not a lot of names to really give you. I mean, the defense is so bad that across the board, like tackling, coverage, they're not great. I would be really hard pressed to give you somebody to watch out for because there's just really not anybody that you have to be worried about.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, if Spartan fans want to feel better about it, you can just go watch
Please.
literally the first 20 minutes of the Iowa game last week, and it
Yeah.
was like
I saw that
24
score. I
nothing.
couldn't believe it.
Disaster, disaster.
Yeah.
We'll try to move on from that. A little interesting matchup here, just with Danny Collins, who's the Gophers defensive coordinator now this year. He's been an assistant with PJ for a long time. Him and
Okay.
Rossi were pretty close coming up, so it'll
hmm
be. I know they're not going out there coaching against each other necessarily at the same time, but
hmm
it'll just be interesting to see what the apprentice has learned from the
I think there's
master, I
probably
guess,
some
in
good
that
knowledge there for
extent.
both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I do think it's a good matchup. I was very surprised to see the line was only 3.5. Um, but you guys coming off a tough one against Iowa, we're just bad. That's a tough one to
yeah,
handicap.
I don't feel confident about this one. That's for sure. I'm curious if the Spartans are going to pull this out. What would be the keys to the game for them?
So there's a couple. I think the first one being Aiden Childs. I mean, that it just has to be. They have to do a better job of getting him in rhythm early. I feel like they get caught taking these shots downfield before he's even completed, like a couple 5-10 yard passes. I would love to see the tight ends get involved. I think that's a glaring like miss on our offense right now. We don't get the ball to the tight ends, and we have strong tight ends. But Aiden Childs has got to get done with his feet and with his arm. If they're not gonna do that, then there's probably not a good chance that we're gonna win this game because the run game is not strong enough. But I think if they can get March the ball, some high percentage throws early on to kind of get Aiden going, that would be my first key, get Childs going, because that'll open things up, whether it's running back on the ground or Childs on the ground. And it's sustained drives. I think like the Michigan game, we did so many 3-and-outs, or it's just so many like 5-play offensive drives. It's like you're not going to win games with that. I really think the defense has got to get a turnover or two. I think the better way to say that was to win a turnover battle, and the defense has to get off the field on third down. That's I think better. One of our biggest issues is just not getting stops when we need them. I would say Childs in the offense just getting in rhythm, and then the defense, winning the turnover battle. We just need to execute. I mean, the Michigan game was so sloppy, which is really why I thought John Smith was going to be fired. It was just I feel like the play calling was not where it should be, and Childs just was just so slow. I'm just going to start venting because it's the biggest game of the year. It's this team's Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
The team doesn't have much to look forward to outside of this game, and they were so sloppy. So I just really need them to get back on track and execute. And I think that simple keys would be execute on offense and get turnovers and stops on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the Gophers are feeling the same way. Trust me. I mean, Iowa has owned us, and PJ knows that, and they don't,
Right.
and they don't like each other. And you just
Right.
you came out and you didn't even give yourself a chance. Even if Iowa is the better team, you just fell right on your face right off the
Right.
get-go. So
Yeah. Well, we know how that is.
yeah,
Yeah.
disappointing.
Yeah.
All right. What's your score prediction for this one?
So again, I think the line is really, really odd, which kind of gave me pause here. But I think I got the Gophers 27-20, and I think that Michigan State will score late. It'll be 27-13 with about a minute and a half left, and Michigan State will score. Probably backup quarterback comes in. That's one thing I was going to mention. It's gotten so bad with Childs that people are calling for his backup Alessio Milivojevic to get more playing time. So that is probably another name to keep an eye out on. I think Childs will get the start. And
I thought he looked okay in the Nebraska game. He got in a little.
Yeah,
bit
I thought so
Childs
too.
got banged up.
Yeah, he came in late against Michigan, and they scored a touchdown as well when he was in. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see him. But yeah, Gophers 27-20, late Michigan State touchdown to make it close. But I really have a hard time seeing this Michigan State team putting up too much of a fight. I think their season's over. I think you're going to see a lot of guys just lose interest. I think the wind took completely out of the sails. Had they won last week, I might be singing a bit of a different tune. But
Right.
I think there's just not much to play for. I think people know the coach is going to get fired, and yeah, I think the season is pretty much done for this team.
Well, how's the basketball team looking this year?
You know what? That's a good question. I think the good basketball team's going to be all right.
Yeah.
They actually have an exhibition game against UConn tonight, which
Okay.
is only streaming on UConn Plus, so I can't watch it or anything. So
That is
I don't know
interesting. I
how
didn't
it's
know that was a
going.
thing.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
neither. But yeah, how about you guys on the basketball side?
There's definitely a revived excitement just having a new coach in
Yeah.
Nico Medved, and
Hmm.
you know, I think the Ben Johnson era was put to bed probably a year too late, but it was
Yeah.
what it was. He was a nice guy. It just I don't
Hmm.
think he was built to coach at the Gophers in the NIL era where you got to kind of do some fundraising, recruiting, get excitement around it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
people don't listen to me for my basketball takes, so there's probably some people being like, "That's not all it was." Anyway,
Yeah. No, me neither.
um, uh, why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners where they can find your show and where you guys are
Yeah,
available?
no, absolutely. I appreciate it. Spartan Savants podcast. We usually record Wednesday nights, so it comes out Thursday or Friday. You can find us anywhere you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify. I know there's some weirder podcast apps out there. You can probably find
Yeah,
it there. YouTube, X, and then we have an Instagram. We don't really use it very much. So YouTube,
same.
X, podcast. Yeah, we're still kind of working on the whole social media thing, but
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. We would, all the listeners we can get, we definitely appreciate it.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks so much for joining us, and yeah,
thank
good luck
you.
the rest of the way.
Likewise, thanks again, Kurt. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks again to Winston from Spartan Savants for that crossover episode. We appreciate his time. Max, you heard it. They're not feeling great over there in Michigan State land, East Lansing. I guess what stood out to you, what he talked about to me, and I think we kind of talked about this even in the group chat. Like both these teams are licking their wounds. It's gonna kind of come down to who wants to come out and play with some pride, some fire to right the wrongs of the prior week.
Right. Yeah. And man, Michigan State, I didn't realize they've lost 5 in a row. And looking at them all, too, I mean, they've given up over 30 points in each of those 5 losses as well. Um, they've had a tough go of it, and they've had a little bit of a gauntlet. I mean, they've had to go to USC, go to Nebraska. They cut UCLA when they got hot in the middle of the season
Yeah,
here. They had to go to Indiana, and then they said Michigan, which is a tough rivalry for them. Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like I heard a lot of similarities between what he was talking about as far as the woes of this Michigan State team, as far as the offense not getting into rhythm, team not having much of an identity, the defense maybe not playing up to their potential. I feel like every point he was making, I was like, we have the same problem, like we have the same
yeah,
thing. I think maybe the advantage we have is maybe just I think it's very unlike a PJ Fleck coach team to have players give up or each
right.
week is very much a brand new week for this team, and I think the players do buy into that. And even after a loss like last week, I mean, I got to see it to believe it, but I'm not going to be as surprised as some people might be if we do come out looking like a brand new, rejuvenated team, where some programs
Yeah,
might look a little bit, like that loss might beat them twice. Some teams that might happen. And not saying it can't happen because we are a young team. Um, but I guess that would be maybe the one thing that sticks out is I have a
yeah.
little more faith that our guys are going to still be motivated. And we've been playing a lot better at home this year than we have on the
I was
road.
gonna say,
So
took the words out of my mouth. We've been a completely different team at home, and I know the
yeah,
competitions overall has been easier.
yeah,
But that is a point. I mean, the players they practice there. Obviously, they're comfortable there, so um, that definitely helps. One thing that would give me pause is that if Michigan State's at the point they're at, like you said, like we just heard, Jonathan Smith is coaching for his job. Probably does have to. It sounds like win out if he wants any chance at keeping it. I know they already run trials a lot, but a lot of it's been off scrambles. My thought is now, if he's healthy, like, do they just go out? Okay, he is an explosive runner. I think he's got a 65-yard touchdown run on the season, and all of his best plays against Nebraska were basically with his legs. I wonder if they just come out and be like, okay, we're not going to worry about, maybe protecting him a little bit. Not that they want him to get hurt, but like they just go full board with running him, as we've seen the mobile quarterbacks give us some issues. So that would be my only pause, is they just take any kind of handcuffs off of the offense that they thought they were gonna try and hold back for only times where they needed to run them, and if they just choose to run them, because that is what scares me the most. I know they have explosive receivers, but he mentioned it. Winston mentioned it. The trenches have struggled for Sparty, even more so than us, I think. So
Definitely. Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see who can win that battle and who's going to look more physical. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like Michigan State, if you're Michigan State and you're scheming up against our defense and mostly just thinking of it like Michigan State can probably outpace our offense way more than vice
oh
versa, right? Like
yeah,
I don't think we can just quickly turn it on and go up tempo and just take a defense by storm. Even though Michigan State's been having struggles on defense, it's just we just haven't been able to figure that out. And I know we've come from behind and won some games, but they've been against much lesser opponents. I do think Michigan State talent wise is a lot better than maybe the record shows, just given their
sure.
schedule. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I, I was interested in his comments about Childs too, and I haven't watched it all that closely, but just kind of looking at his numbers, I mean, I thought he's from last year. He has improved, especially I think his biggest knock was just his turnover numbers from last year. Um, but to hear him say, he's still making some dumb decisions is interesting. So hopefully we can force him
Yeah,
into some of those. But he can use his legs, so it's one of those where it's like it's not so much like always getting home because it's going to be tough to get home on a guy like that, but just
right.
containing him and trying to make him be just a passer because he gets out of the pocket. He's making a
Yeah,
lot better throws this year than he was last year.
yeah. As far as the Childs comments goes, I think I did watch pretty much all of that Nebraska game that they Michigan State versus Nebraska, and he struggled passing in that one. That's like all of his big plays remain with his legs. I guess he was banged up later, so maybe that had a factor. But yeah, it's just I think he's just inconsistent. He's
Yeah,
either a big play or it's a miss of a wide open throw to Nick Marsh, who's the receiver. That's the thing. The receivers are dangerous. Like
right.
I know Nebraska had really good receivers. I don't think they had the star that Nick Marsh is, so that's something I'm curious to see. Hopefully, everyone's feeling good in the secondary and everyone's still full go because I think it'd be wise to keep a safety over the top of him at all times. But yeah, I guess if we're moving into keys, um, I'll start. My first key would be, like you said, it would be to contain Childs and just try and make him a pocket passer. Um, Obviously, got to get pressure on him, but yeah, you don't want him escaping. I should say, I would hope maybe Emmanuel Carmo, if healthy, gets a lot more playing time. Just I don't want him to straight up spy, but he's somebody that's going to be able to close the distance a lot faster than a lot of the players on this defense. So I think him getting out on the field this game would be wise. Secondly, the offense got to start. I mean, it's easy, and we're going to talk about it, but starting fast. The coaches talk about it nonstop. This is a defense that is struggling. You don't want to, and Rossi is still capable of putting together the correct game plan, like Winston said. So it would nice to be jump out early with a lead and just make this team that's feeling bad about themselves not feel any better. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to give them any confidence for
Yeah,
like, hey, we're gonna mess around and win this thing. Not that they can't win. I don't think we're like immensely more talented than Michigan State, but don't give them any reason to hang around because I mean they got players liking comments about potentially bringing in new coaches. Like that's a thing going around on Twitter right now. Is like they're liking Instagram posts about potentially bringing back like a former linebacker as a linebacker coach and stuff like that. But like no one's been fired to my knowledge yet off of that staff yet, so that's not a
right.
great look. So take advantage of the distractingness. Um, that's really yeah. I mean, I guess the third one would just be like it's basic, but like do the basics of each play. Like don't throw any more interceptions, Drake. Let's punt the ball to where it's supposed to be punted. Like even if it's not a boomer or perfect spot, like get the ball punted to where it's supposed to be. I guess that those would be the final keys for me. So um, with that, I'm going to go Gophers 28, Sparty 20. I like the Gophers to bounce back at home. I think we come out looking a lot better, but I still think that there's enough athletes for sure on Michigan State to get some points on the board. So I like Minnesota 28-20.
I like it. Yeah, my keys are very similar. Just like we talked about, just containing Childs, keeping him in the pocket. Um, it's going to take more than Anthony Smith and Devin Eastern and JLR to compress that pocket. I think we've seen a lot of good things out of Carter Menz and Matt Kingsbury as well. Kingsbury feels
Yeah,
like a guy that can just fly around and play physical. So if we can get to Childs early, especially if we can actually hit him, um, I think that'll be a huge advantage just to keep him from making those big plays with his legs. Like you said, that might be something they just try to do. So if we can counter that, then advantage us. Be interesting to see what we're at, health wise too, just with John Nestor going down against Iowa as well. So coverage might be
yeah,
a problem. But offensively, kind of similar to starting fast and getting into a rhythm, is just getting Drake's confidence back. Like if we can just find a way to take what the defense can give us, kind of goes into my third key as well. Just we know Joe Rossi's going to play a lot of zone. He's going to try to play that bend but don't break style. So if we can get Drake in a rhythm early, take what we can get him rolling and get him back to where maybe we saw earlier in the season where he looked like he could be kind of that dude for us that could make every throw and
right.
plays bigger than a redshirt freshman. Um, I think that'll set us up good for the rest of the game and probably help the run game as well. If they're going to be keen on Drake throwing the
Yeah,
football, maybe that can open some things up on the ground. Um, but we'll see. I have a very similar score. I think the Gophers do win this one at home 27-21. Hoping we get out to a pretty early lead. Maybe Michigan State scores late to keep it close. But yeah, I don't know. I do agree as well, just with the line being only 3.5. Feels like it should be more. But watching the games, it's just like
yeah.
we
I think it
never
did open
quite
at five and
get
a half,
to.
but yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, it's like the Gophers just have struggled, especially of late, to like play up to their potential. So
yeah,
we might be 6 or 7 points better, which means maybe a 4 point win is more realistic.
right,
I don't know.
right. Well, yeah, and the Sparty team is a little different too. Like it'd be nice to come out and see us just kind of do what we did to Nebraska, but like I think this Michigan State team's still like different than that. Like I don't think they're necessarily. I mean, they definitely are soft because they can't. They're not as soft as Nebraska. I don't think, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. And yet they're still a worse defense. Like
right.
it's like they get lost in coverage a lot more. You know what I mean? And it's
Right.
not necessarily like even the fundamentals. Like you said, I just think their players really struggle in pass coverage, especially. So, and they can't get home against the passer. So hopefully we give Drake enough time to take advantage of that. And yeah, I would love to see the O-line come out and have a nice bounce back game against an opponent that on paper they've had a better season than. Even as much as the O-line has struggled, they've had a better season than the Michigan State front seven. So, um,
Right.
yeah, hopefully a get right opportunity. I'm not saying they should necessarily look at it. I think it definitely has the potential to be a dogfight, but yeah, two go for W. So look at that, folks. We're not overly negative after that heartbreaker. So let us know what you think the score prediction is going to be for this one. Let's see what we got. Spang Stash is back. Hey boys, been a while. I'm alive and well, but had a setback or two. Choking on some crow. Thought the thought the manly thing to do is check in since I was on record pumping up this Gopher team. Let's get the next thing and get the 8 wins. Yeah, absolutely. And I think 8 wins is still on the table, right? Because you're at 5-3 right now. Can you get the dub at home against Sparty? We both think so. That gets you bowl eligible. Okay, takes a little bit of the pressure off, and then you have Northwestern and Northwestern and Wisconsin. Northwestern on the road at Wrigley, but and who's a solid team. But those two to get to 8, and then Eugene on a Friday night. Crazier things have happened, I guess. You never know, but yeah, 8 wins is still doable. Um,
Right. It is surprising that I did not expect at Northwestern to be the trickiest game outside of, or obviously,
yeah,
or not considering Oregon, but like between the Michigan State, Northwestern, and Wisconsin to be the last three, like what truly winnable games. Did not
right.
expect Northwestern to be the one that's like, oh, we might not be favorites in that one.
Right. No, they're playing really well, and honestly, they had their chances aplenty against Nebraska too to take
Yeah.
that one at Lincoln, but it is what it is. Okay, so we missed our Iowa breakdown. Apologies. I don't think anyone really wanted to hear much on that game. What we thought we would do here, and this isn't us being negative, we're just going to take an honest look kind of where we're at right now, kind of in PJ's tenure, just with the coaching carousel going on. So we got a few questions lined up. So we're just going to talk about this openly and honestly. We'd love to hear from you fans, either comments now during the live or after too, because we do read all the comments you guys leave, Spotify, Apple, whatever. We do appreciate those as well. So let's just start with this, Max. So after last week, I believe PJ is 1-9 against Iowa all time, 1-8 now in his tenure with the Gophers. And every year, it's just sort of this. It's not the same, but it is the same. Like, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Iowa when I say this, but just what does this Gopher program and PJ need to change? You think, specifically against Iowa, because it's not that we've been at the same tier as Iowa for the most part. I'm not trying to suggest that, but the losses to Iowa have just been different than losses to other teams where we're in the somewhat same ballpark. And like I understand the losses to Iowa State like that, but that one to Iowa, that was ugly.
Right. Yeah, the the thing that stands out is really just the fact that it feels like most of those losses we just couldn't get out of our own way, or we didn't play up to the level at which we were playing maybe earlier that year, later in that season. Um, I mean, you look at last weekend in particular, like obviously Iowa was the better team, and I don't know. I mean, even if we played our best game, it was going to be a battle, but like to not even really put up much of a fight and to have everything go wrong the way that it did in that rivalry game with an extra day of rest, coming off beating up Nebraska, like it's just crazy how the stars can align like that, and then we come out, we didn't even get off the bus, like
Yeah,
so. To me, it's like things like that, and especially because PJ's whole mantra, year in and year out, week after week, is you just want to be 1-0 in that week. He doesn't believe in momentum. He doesn't believe in anything impacting from the week prior impacts the current week. But every year, we beat up on Nebraska and we can't beat Iowa. We play our
yeah,
best game against Nebraska, we can't beat Iowa. So it's like you can say it all you want, but there is, and it's across all of college football, right? Like teams get hot, teams get another team's number, you beat up on them, you get a little more confidence, you get a little more swagger, and it just comes, winning those games come a little bit easier. And right now, Kirk Ferentz has that over Minnesota, and he's had it for a
right,
while, and
right.
so it's
Yeah, I just want to
obviously
make sure we're aware of that. Like, we
yeah,
understand the run Iowa's been on. I'm not trying to take anything away. It's
right.
just here's where
It
I
hasn't
go
been
to it.
that close,
Right. Well, like, yeah, there was a stretch there where it was, and I'm like, okay, like we're right there. Like the Mo game, honestly, I don't know what else PJ was supposed to do. We ran the ball for like 250 yards and still lost just because of turnovers and whatnot. It does feel like just when PJ talks about this game, it's such a mental thing for I think the coaching staff. I think they're in their own heads with this game in particular. I don't think that's debatable at this
right?
point. Everything they talk about is how we just can't make mistakes. We can't make mistakes. We can't make mistakes. Instead of how we're gonna, and I'm sure behind closed doors it's a little bit more balanced, but it's never how we're gonna come out and attack Iowa's like defense or how we're gonna try and come out and attack them. It's all about like we're trying not to get tricked and we're trying not to make mistakes. And Iowa's really good at making you make mistakes. So when you come out and you make a mistake early, your whole mantra is like, crap, we made a mistake. Well, let's not try to make any more mistakes instead of like, here's what we can do to try and get back in the. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
we're so in this game in particular reactionary to what I was doing at all times. Like you said, we didn't even get off the bus, which I believe in part's true, but it's also like Iowa sets a trap for us. It's like everyone knows the trap that's gonna get set for us, and like we walk right into it anyway. So, like, one thing I wanted to bring up was how that first drive, again, Iowa's first drive against Gophers, immaculate. Like, it looks perfectly ran as always. But a lot of their runs were like misdirection. It's like, oh boy, like I just don't. That seemed like something that was easy to have see coming, in my opinion. You look at the second half
Right.
last year, it was a lot of one cut little misdirections with Caleb Johnson to get one on one isolation with our safeties and secondary players, and it was game over. And to like they know that we're gonna gear up against the run, but the running is what they do. So to me, I know, this is all I saw we know what happened in the game, so it's easy to go back now, but I'm a fan, so I can do this. What did you expect them to just be like, hey, instead of running straight ahead, we're gonna just get them going all over, get their eyes going all over, misdirection here, and that's what happened. And we felt and we looked unprepared. Like Derek Burns
Right.
pointed out, like we had two guys run into the quarterback on like the first fake handoff of the game. It just like, yep, like we looked totally unprepared. The coaches are always one step ahead of us, and again, Ferentz is a legend. We can pull up this comment here. Nicholas Garrett, PJ needs Ferentz to retire. Yeah, Gophers do in general. I cannot wait for that day. Every time when the Iowa fans are bringing that up because they'll lose like I don't know. I'm trying like who's like if they play like Indy or they already played India, but if they play like Ohio State and they lose like a 35-3 and it's like please get Ferentz out of here to retire. I'm always right there with him. Like, I'm with you. It's time to move on. Go swing big, buddy. Go get,
They got Oregon this week.
yeah. Is that this week or next week? I think it's next week.
Oh, that is next week. That's right. Yeah,
They were both
they're
on
off.
bye, I believe.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's right.
So that'll be a great game, by the way. That's in Ferentz. That's in Kinnick. So I hope they stick it to Ferentz. All right. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I just think PJ needs to just throw out that mentality. Like he's got this whole mentality of how he's like, if I just play it super close to the vest and I don't mess up at all, then Iowa can't hurt me. It's like, no,
Right.
look how Purdue beat them. Look how Wisconsin beat them back in the day. Like you got to have a little bit more of an edge to you.
Right.
I'm not saying we had an advantage there at all this year. It's just, it is what it is. It's got to change. Yeah.
Yeah, and credit to Iowa too. It feels like by the time this game rolls around, it's like Iowa always seems to be getting better and hitting their stride, and we kind of are at where we're at, and we not like we coast, but we're just inconsistent. Especially this year, this has been the most inconsistent team we've seen in a while as far as how they play. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. And your point too
That's
about the
interesting.
coaching staff, like it's really just like Phil Parker. It's like all you hear all week is like, well, Phil Parker, Phil Parker. It's like, yeah,
I know.
he's really good for a reason, guys.
Yeah.
But their offense, they've gotten better this year, but their offense is gettable, and
Yeah.
we don't stop it ever.
I know. Thank goodness for like people are like I always hesitated to jump on the Brian Ferentz trashing because he always beat us still and always let
Right.
points down the field right away.
Right.
But if his quarterback doesn't fumble 3 times or whatever it was the 2 years ago now that we beat him, or 3 years ago, whatever it was. No, 2 years. Yeah. But anyway, like then we probably don't beat him at all that time. That's a good point. Can you bring up
Yeah.
that comment? Nicholas says, what does Iowa State have that we don't? They don't beat Iowa every year by any means, but they definitely have a lot more success. Iowa State can't have any better recruiting or resources than Minnesota. They don't. Well, they do have a pretty savvy quarterback the last 2 years, so I will give them that. And I think Drake can definitely get to this point. I do think it's the mindset that Campbell puts them in for this game. Like, he's definitely taken his beatings from Ferentz as well, but like, they have a game plan. And we talked to the Iowa games last week. They dink and dunk Iowa to death and move the ball methodically down the field. While I would argue that the Gophers look like they're too concerned about protecting the football. They look more concerned about protecting the ball in this rivalry than moving it down the field at times, in my opinion. Like, we let them dictate so much. So it's a mentality thing. It's totally a mentality thing. I think it's a huge offensive coaching issue in general. And the defense wasn't great this game either. I'm just saying. The offense,
Right.
the way we play offense against Iowa, I think to me is the biggest red flag. Like, I, I don't understand it, to be honest. Like,
Right.
not even just
Yeah.
this game. We refused. I mean, I say we refused to take shots down the field, but like as Drake had 3 turnovers. But in general, there's not a lot of and there's nothing thrown in there to catch them off guard. Like Iowa will still do
Right.
stuff to catch you off guard if they think you're too zoned in on one thing. Like we don't do any of that. It's like, and every time you listen to Harbaugh talk about something, it's like, yeah, we thought they were going to do this, so we had this check in place, this check in place, this check in place. I'm so tired of hearing him talking about how we're going to react to the defense at some point, and this is football and this is fan speak, but it's the truth. At some point, you have to be able to do something good enough to enforce your will on the other opponent. And this Gopher offense, it feels like we're trying to solve the other defense the whole time instead of just going out and trying to attack it with something. Does that make sense? Am I just being a total
Yeah.
fan? Like there's a mentality thing there I think that's missing with this.
Yeah. Well, Harbaugh said it out loud in his press conference that he struggles in opening drives because defenses show things that they've never seen before, and they have to like figure it out.
You can do that
It's
too.
like
And plus you get to decide how they're gonna line up half the
exactly,
time with what
exactly,
formation you throw out.
exactly. No,
Ah,
it is frustrating, and yeah, it's one of those things. It's like you said, it's a very fan speak thing to be like, well, just start fast, like just get in a rhythm. Like, okay, what that means is really you have to like we haven't been able to find what our bread and butter is this year. It hasn't been the ground game because the offensive line struggles. We know that. We maybe don't have the wide receivers to be like stretching the field
right.
most plays, but we have a quarterback that's accurate, and we have a deep set of pass catchers. Like, why can't we just go a little bit up tempo, hit some quick passes, couple run plays mixed in
Yeah.
to like get the offense kind of going, soften up the defense a little bit, versus starting with running that doesn't work. Okay, now we're going to go 2nd and 10, slow developing play action pass. Let's have our red shirt freshman put his back to the defense on a like we just do the same thing over and over again and it never works. It might look different, there might be a different motion
Yeah.
here or there, but like when we talk about like starting fast and getting into a rhythm, it's really whatever we did last week that didn't work. Maybe let's not just keep going back to it.
Right.
And like you said, let's not be so worried about what the defense is doing and let's just try to make them react, like you said.
Yeah. It's just very. Yeah, it's like he's trying it. It's like he's trying to have this every single answer to every possible thing the defense could be showing the offense. It's like, you know what? At the end of the day, players make plays, and you just got to go out with
Yeah.
your guys and see what can happen. So, um,
Yeah.
let's I don't want to get overly negative here, but I do think this is a fair question. Like we said, PJ's 1-8. If it's another 20-point loss at home next year to this Iowa club in Ferentz. Like, is that enough for you to put PJ on the hot seat? He would be 1-9 against Iowa. I don't have his Wisconsin wins down here, but let's see. He has last year. How many times has he beat Wisconsin? I think he's or how many? Is he 3-5?
I think he's won 3. Yeah. I believe
The
that's
first
right.
year at Randall, he's won it once at home, and he won it last year. I know 3. I think it might just be the 3. So,
Yeah. I think that's
but
right.
that would, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. If it's another game similar to this year against Iowa, especially at home, I mean that definitely I mean I don't know if that game alone puts him on the hot seat, but I feel like if that's the case, then there's probably enough other things going wrong that he might be on the hot seat anyways, if that makes sense.
and here's why I think it's fair to bring up because if you're, I'm not expecting to go 10-2 every year and sneak into the playoffs. I understand that that's something
Right.
we're going to have to build up to and achieve, but we're going on 6 years now since we've even had a sniff of what would have been a playoff team. And so if you're not doing that, then you got to be getting pretty dang close to 500 against your rivals. Like if you're not making the playoffs, and I understand, I'm not saying that we should. I understand where we are. But then you got to start winning more consistently against Wisconsin, yes, good job. Kind of helps that they've regressed, but I'm not taking that away from PJ. He's done a much better job against them, and that includes Iowa. Like he has turned Iowa
Yeah.
into what that Wisconsin streak was almost. Like, and I
Right.
know other coaches before Fleck weren't lighting it up against Iowa, but it didn't look like this. Like even when that Clay's team lost to Iowa, like it was a bunch of points being exchanged back and forth, and like we were trying stuff, and it didn't go our way. It's just this is a
Right.
different thing. Like he's got to get this fixed, and I do think it becomes a fireable offense or like a move onable offense from PJ if you can't get it figured out. In 10 years,
Right.
one win, like that's ridiculous.
Right. And I think that's a good point too. You bring up like as far as the expectations for Iowa too. Like I don't just expect us to all of a sudden start going 500 against them in the next few years. I don't expect to be winning more games than them. But the non-competitiveness, like we won once, and it was by 2 points. Like that can't be, and we're not getting like we're not closing the gap. It feels like either. Like we're not
Right. I
gaining
thought
on
there
them in
was a
any
moment where
way.
we were. I thought there was a
Yeah.
long time where we were. Like that 2019 team probably could have, slow
Right.
start in Iowa. Like probably could have won that game. Um, but that was a good Iowa team too. Just looking back at it. But
Right.
so 2021, 2022, like you were right there, and it just
Right.
didn't go your way.
And
The
it
2023 of
frustrates
all
PJ.
years, it did.
Right. What frustrates PJ too. And I'm glad it does. I'm glad he cares. But it is like he said it in his post game press conference too. Someone was like, what it is about Iowa? Like you can't. Like, why can't we beat them? Basically, his response is something along the lines of like, "Well, we beat them recently." Like, I'm kind of just like,
Right.
what do you want from me?
He wants to get
It's
away from the storyline, but you can't.
right. Exactly.
Especially, and I'm going to say this because I think what happened this past week puts a ton of more pressure on this upcoming Wisconsin game. I think it does. Like it's an absolute must
Right.
win now. And hey, if Wisconsin's going to show up how they showed up against Oregon, that is not a gimme at all. That defense is
No.
absolutely
No.
legit, and I would say the D line for Wisconsin right now is better than the Minnesota offensive line. So that's a game you absolutely have to win. And I'm just going to say, like, the crowd at Minnesota for that, the atmosphere for Minnesota versus Wisconsin in Minneapolis is 10 times better than it is in Madison because nobody's there over Thanksgiving in Madison. At the U, everyone's still there because there's people that work jobs. There's a lot of Badger fans that work in the Twin Cities that are there. Like, it's just a better game,
Right.
so it's going to have a bigger feel at our stadium no matter what. Nicholas says 4-4. I'm guessing that's our record against Wisconsin under PJ. What am I? I'm trying to think as it's bothering me. I think you're right. I just can't. Oh, the Athen game, right? The Athen game and last year. That
Oh,
was yeah.
yeah. That's
Yes,
right.
that's the one I was missing. Thank you.
Yeah.
The Lemecki game, the slanting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Um. Okay. Now, again, there's a lot catching up on. We want to just cover this because we're not oblivious to the outside world of college football. We brought it up earlier with Winston, the coaching carousel, Max. PJ. There was an article out. I didn't see who initially reported it, but that he's on Arkansas's it's not a short list. It's like a 10 long coaching list of coaches they would look into. PJ was on that. Of all the jobs, or I should even add in potential jobs that could become open from coaches leaving, what are the odds that this is the year? We always hear about it. I'm not trying to push pressure and like I don't, I want your opinion. That what are the odds that PJ does like move on this year? And if so, what job would you see it being for?
Um, I feel like it's definitely less than 50% that he would leave
Yeah.
on his own. Um, I feel like PJ. I think he has built this program, and it's definitely going in the right direction, in the direction that he wants it to go in. Right, like we're not saying he's made this program any worse, or we want him out. Um, and I think he wants to be kind of like a Kirk Ferentz or a Gundy or someone who's going to be at a program and like you think of Minnesota, you think of PJ Fleck. Like I think he kind of wants that legacy and to kind of have that consistency in his culture be Minnesota football. So just because there's a lot of big jobs out there that are available, I'd be shocked if he were to leave. And I don't know that he's maybe the best choice for a lot of these big jobs either. Like if I'm a big programmer, especially at a program like Arkansas that has a lot of money to throw around, I think there's bigger fish you can probably go after that have probably performed better than PJ. Or maybe there's some, if you're going to go after a young coordinator or whatever the direction is, I feel like PJ and Matt Campbell have been in lockstep in terms of like every year their name shows up on these short lists of coaching hires, but every year you're kind of like, but did they really deserve it? I mean, Matt Campbell's done a lot better than we have in the last few years, so I could see where his name would be a little more likely, but I don't know. I guess my answer would be I'd be surprised if he leaves. I doubt it would be any of these big giant positions. If he had to leave and I like where could I see him going the most? It would be probably like a UCLA or somewhere that's
That was on my
in a need of a
answer.
rebuild a little bit. Not that some of these big programs aren't in need of a rebuild, but it needs to be a place that's a rebuild that they're going to let him do whatever he wants to do. And I don't think that's at a place like Arkansas or really anywhere in the SEC for that matter.
So I know this sounds silly in today's era, but take money aside, I don't think the Arkansas job's very desirable just because of your competition. The
Oh yeah,
expectations are always higher down there, and everyone that you're trying to beat that's ahead of you has just as much, if not more, money than you. You know,
yeah,
so to me, it's like, yeah, if you want to go to Arkansas, they probably could maybe provide you more. Like the TV money and revenue share is going to be huge for teams like the Gophers. But Arkansas, I mean, the SEC gets a decent amount of money too from the TV deal. So if you get that and say you do have a little bit more money to throw around at players down there, like the only thing they have is they're further down south. So there is a broader recruiting area to pick from. But like, I'm with you. I think if you're hiring PJ at this point, you're one of these other programs. You are committing to a rebuild. I know the transfer portal era is a thing. Um, I don't think it would happen super quick. Like I think it would be like for sure, definitely not year one, maybe year two. Like you're waiting for year three to see like consistent results. I would think if you're going away from them, if you're going with them, I should say. I don't know, like, and I don't know if all these bigger programs have the patience. Like I can't see Florida like if Florida or Florida State went after PJ, like they would be admitting something that they need to just like tear it down and rebuild it. And I don't know if, especially Florida State, maybe Florida. I can't see Florida doing it either, to be honest. And like you said, like PJ's legacy, I think, is important to PJ, and rightfully so. Like I get that. Like if you want to be like the guy somewhere, that's totally cool. I think that's a cool goal to have. But I don't think you're gonna get that at Florida or Florida State, and
right.
like they're not letting you put oars on stuff. They're not gonna do that. So,
Yeah,
the UCLA one's intriguing. Like so here's what I heard. I shouldn't say heard. I read it on X. No idea if it's true, but there was speculation of like people that are somewhat in the know, but they were saying that Jed Fish of Washington is buddies with a huge donor and the AD or president at UCLA, and so and supposedly his wife isn't loving it up there in Washington, up in the Pacific West. I would assume she maybe the LA area is better. I've heard it's nice weather there. So if they like went in on Jed Fish, I don't know if Jed Fish is coaching himself into that job or not, but like if he was buddy and he could get UCLA to commit the resources, like I think that's where UCLA could potentially go. I don't think PJ would go there unless he got some kind of commitment like that. That was a long way of getting around to that point. But like I think PJ would want a
right.
commitment to like we're gonna put more money into the football team starting now. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Like if he did leave, I think it would be for not just because the article, but I think it would be for like an Arkansas. But I don't know if he wants to do that. I don't think he wants to do that. Does he take Lindsey with him if he goes to Arkansas?
Be an easy
Maybe.
sell.
Yeah, he's from there, right? So, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, probably. I, I don't know, but like, who stays these days in college football? Like, regardless of player and coach, like,
Devin Mockabee.
does if right, that's true. If if Fleck moved on and took, I don't know, pretend Rule left Penn State and went to Nebraska and whatever. Say PJ ended up at Nebraska or UCLA. I think Lindsey would follow him there too, probably, just with how college football works these days.
Right.
Um,
Or at least wherever Harbaugh goes as well, if he chooses.
I let's just say I need to be convinced of that a little more. I know that's
I
what
say that
we've
because
been
I know
talking.
I know it's
Yeah.
coming.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So probably Nick, but we
Yeah.
gotta. I mean, if it happens, honestly, like this is gonna get us in trouble with. And I'm not saying I want PJ to leave. I don't. I want to see. I like the recruits we have the last 2 years, especially. I think the offensive side has a lot of young guys, a lot of young talent that could develop into something. So I want to see that through. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, if somebody came and snagged PJ after this season, it would stink. But like, I don't think. I think Minnesota is in a place with the NIL that we do have right now and the revenue share that I think at least getting back to these 8 to 7 win seasons, I don't think it's going to be that hard to find. I mean, the two coaches previously to Fleck both won 8 games in a year, 9 games in a year. So like, uh, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. As long as you get the right guy here, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think I really don't think it's program devastated at this point in year 9 of Fleck
Right.
if it did get snagged. Don't want it to happen. Don't shoot the
Right.
messenger. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
and I think that's the scariest part of all of it is just like you don't know who you're going to get next. Like it's no guarantee that you're going to get the
Right.
next guy the next year
You
or
could get Brewster.
you know right. Like and even if it's a guy that looks like it's the right hire, doesn't always work out. Luke Fickle,
Yeah.
like
That's another one. Like,
it's just yeah, you don't know.
and it sounds like he's going to survive. So that's the craziest part.
Yeah,
I will say though, like
yeah,
coaches used to get 3 to 4 years, and unless everyone's
right.
bailing on them money wise, which it sounds like it might start to happen, but I don't know. Um, they actually came out and said they're going to invest more into like the players and NIL. So like, I would give Fickle another year personally, and I'm not just saying that as a Gopher fan. I know it hasn't looked good. I think you went into overhaul a
Yeah,
system. I would say you got to let him try and actually run it through, and maybe a
right,
year without his quarterback getting destroyed. Like, but it is what it
right.
is.
And yeah, I mean he tried to do the dairy raid, it didn't work. He went back to the more the pro style. So like they've kind of had their own little resets within his him taking over Wisconsin. And then yeah, this year losing your starting quarterback yet again early on. And I mean this team we talked about it all offseason. This Wisconsin team's schedule is brutal. So
Right.
no one was I mean bowl eligibility was going to be a big deal for them like so if
Yeah.
you're Fickle, I mean, I'm being like, what do you want me to do? Like,
Right.
it's
Right.
tough.
All right. Um, we have one more, and I promise I didn't. I didn't save this topic for this week. I wanted to get to it when it happened. So this was taken from Gopher Gridiron. This is a direct quote from Ryan Burns, who's the writer for 247 Sports, 24/7 Sports for the Gophers. Great writer. And I want to discuss the quote here. This was with in regards to the coaching carousel and if PJ got offered a raise, how he would use the bonus money. So this is a direct quote from Ryan Burns on. I just want to discuss it. Um, okay, here's the quote. Like, if you're going to keep them around, specifically with Harbaugh, he's talking about PJ using the money to increase the assistant coaching salary pool. I just want to put that out there. So he says, like, if you're going to keep them around, specifically with Harbaugh being attached to Drake Lindsey, because that's his guy coming out of high school, I think everybody enjoys watching Drake Lindsey. I mean, you look at the coaching carousel. This is my thing for everybody to watch. Everybody's going to want to win right away. Well, if you want to win right away, you need a quarterback. And I think Drake Lindsay is a pretty good quarterback. So if you want Drake Lindsay and this whole operation to stay together at Minnesota for another year, probably means Greg Harbaugh is going to have to stay. I'm sure he wants more money than being the lowest paid or second lowest paid offensive coordinator in the Big Ten, but a lot of time to talk about that before December hits. Max, my question to you, based on that quote, and I'm not attacking Birds at all, do you think Greg Harbaugh should be getting paid more as this Gophers offensive coordinator? And secondly, do you think like the like to keep do you think he should be paid more to keep him here in all um with the goal being to keep Drake Lindsay here? Like I guess in part two to that. Like do you think he deserves a pay raise? And do you think he deserves a pay raise just to make sure that Drake's happy to keeping him around here?
Yeah, I guess it's tough because I don't know exactly what he's making. I know the assistant coaching pool is
I believe
pretty
it's like
low.
700K.
Yeah. So yeah, I know the yeah, within the Big Ten, the Gophers do not have the most desirable salaries amongst assistant coaches. So I mean, if it's a pay raise to keep him at whatever level is going to keep him happy and is worthy of his performance, I mean, we've not had a very productive offense this year, so I mean, I don't know what that's worth. I think paying him just to keep him here to keep Drake here isn't worth it because I hope we could convince Drake to stay with whatever new coordinator we're bringing in,
Right.
or whoever we're going to hire from within. If it's Simon, I have no idea who that would be. If Drake Lindsay is that attached to Greg Harbaugh, um, I don't know. I
I don't
guess
buy it. That's the thing.
I
I
don't
don't believe
either.
it. I
Like,
get that that's the guy that recruited him and that he likes him. Okay.
right?
If somebody here's my biggest thing. Who's coming to poach Greg Harbaugh right now? Who's
Not a
looking at
bigger
that?
program.
Like that's what I'm saying. I don't understand. Like you said, if it's a pay raise here, like got a little more money to spread around, great. Like I'm fine with that. But like
If that makes him
bringing
coach
things,
better.
yeah. Does being the second lowest paid offensive coordinator in the Big Ten, like what offenses are we clearly better than right now? I don't know. Like people probably would have argued Iowa until last week happened. I don't think that's true. Like, can I just go over this? I have some notes here that I took because I heard this comment and I honestly thought it was preposterous. The argument was preposterous, and I just wanted to dig a little bit deeper because I remember how mad fans were at Mike Sanford's offense back in 2021. All right. I believe that's the right year, right? 2021 was Mike
Yep.
Sanford's because he was COVID. I didn't really count that year when looking at it because that year was so wishy washy. So here was Mike Sanford's stats. All right. We averaged 360 yards per game, which was 83rd in the country, 199 rushing yards a game, 162 passing yards per game. And that was with Michael Brown Stevens as receiver number 2 on that team. They averaged 25 and a half points per game. PJ pulled out the plug on him on basically a year and a half. Said, nope, this ain't it. This ain't working. Okay. Greg Harbaugh's numbers. This is last year with an NFL quarterback, all right? And an NFL left tackle and other good pieces around it. Here's what the stats were for last year's offense: 26.2 points per game, 222 passing yards per game, 115 rushing yards per game, 337, so we averaged less yards per game, but it actually ranked us 4 spots higher at 79th last year in total offense. Here's what we're doing this year with Drake Lindsay under Greg Harbaugh. We are currently 98th in the country, averaging 314 yards per game. We're averaging 24 points per game. We're averaging only 110 yards rushing. If you take out our game against FCS competition, we are averaging 18.9 per game and 279 yards, and only 77 yards rushing per
Yeah,
game.
it's the
So
bottom of the barrel in the whole country. Like,
where listen, I want Drake to stay too, but like at what point is Greg Harbaugh going to be asked to produce something? And we
right,
kind of glanced over, like that's not even bringing up our opening drives this year, which has been a huge issue. We're always talking about starting fast. He gets asked about it every game. That's an opportunity to show that you can scheme something up. Like, hey, we haven't shown this. Look, let's go out and execute. And I know he's dependent on the players, obviously. My point is, we've put some players in the NFL here under under this team. Like they're still going off and doing things in the NFL, and it's just not. It's not producing. It's a very inconsistent, mediocre offense, in my opinion. And so, if that was enough to pull the plug on Mike Sanford, who was like supposed to be this guru of developing Jordan Love, like I think that's the only thing Harbaugh has that's keeping him here is that he's got that relationship with Drake Lindsay. I mean, as far as like pressure off of him to produce from PJ. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that? I guess.
yeah, and I know he's been one of PJ's guys too for a long time, which it feels like he definitely has a little more feels like leeway, maybe with some of the guys that have been on his staff for a long time. Um, and it's hard. Like I don't think Harbaugh is like a bad guy or like I don't. It's not like I dislike
No,
him, and
I'm
I
attacking the
think
performance.
right. And I think what he talks about sometimes, he seems very intelligent, and I think he has the right idea at times as far as like what he's trying to do. But then when you look down and you see what's actually happening, it's like he just tries to go. He tries to lean more into all of this, like we talked about before, like figuring out the defense, all these millions of checks to have at the line, and all the different
Yeah,
protections, all this stuff. It's like we're getting so we're getting so into the weeds and all these things, and we're just running for like 2 yards a carry, and we can't,
yeah.
get open. Like I, I don't know. I don't know if it's play calling. I don't
I
know
don't
if
think we scheme
it's
anybody open
right.
90% of the
Like
time, to be honest. I'm sick of hearing about receiver separation. Go back to those early 2020s teams receivers outside
right,
of Christoph and Bell. I know Daniel Jackson came on late. Like once Bateman left, those were dark times, and we were moving the ball more than we do now. So, like,
right.
what are we doing?
And just to compare it to like the Kirk Soraka offenses, like people ripped Soraka's offense for being too simple, but it worked. I mean,
Yep.
that's all we want. We just want to find something that works, and then we can kind of stick to it and then build off of it. It feels like we're trying to
Yeah.
build on top of something that's just like you said. We're one of the worst teams in the country offensively,
Yeah.
and we're still trying to like make it more difficult to
And you
run.
have nice pieces. I
You do.
truly
We
believe.
have
I know.
players.
I know that in the years past on this podcast, we've talked about how we thought the receiver room was going to be good. I think the receiver room is actually pretty solid this year. I'm not saying it's amazing. Not
Right,
saying
but it's deep.
we're in the top. I think you got a lot of guys, different body types that can make plays. Like I don't think it's a slow receiver room. Like Lamec is
Yeah,
making contested catches. I think Javon Tracy has a lot of wiggle and strength and has shown why he's there. And Jalen Smith, when healthy, has outran people. So I just Coleman, Malachi Coleman too is like he's a freak athlete that is fast. He was fast at Nebraska. I saw him score touchdowns by outrunning people at Nebraska. Like I know he's fast. So I'm kind of over the personnel being the issue. This is year 3. I mean, we just talked with Winston, who their Michigan State's head coach might not even get the full 2 years, and Harbaugh is going to have a third seat. This is his third year as offensive coordinator. Like, I think he has a lot to prove, and I know I've said that a lot, but I stand by it. And I think if you dig into it, it's bad. And I don't understand the pass he gets from a lot of media members and even fans. But it is what it is.
right.
Um,
And I hope he figures it out. Like,
oh
I don't
yeah, I'm
want anyone to
rooting
lose
for
their
him.
job. Like, that's not what
Absolutely.
we want. Like, we want him to figure it out.
But if he doesn't,
But
one of the things about about having these low paid coordinators is like it should be easier to change them out. You're not going to owe him a
right,
lot of money. I would love to see us do what we did when we committed back to Sirocco. Like, hey, we're going to come up here and pay this 1.5. That's the thing. Like, we've paid Sirocco like in the 1 point whatever mil. Like, so we've been willing to do it. The money's still there because that money's not going anywhere else right now. That's all in the
Right.
PJ's pockets, but it's not. Like, we know it's not. So like, they have the ability to go out and pay when they want to an extent. Like, so let's not pretend like we're not going to pay any coordinator $1 million. No, Rossi and Soraka were both making well over $1 million when they were here. So not the entire time, but it got worked up there. So that is what it is. Okay, folks, this has been a longer pod. I probably could have been split up into two, but we had to kind of get in some state of the program talk there as we missed the Iowa breakdown. So very quickly, we're gonna go through our Sky U Pod parlay. Guess what? Didn't hit last week. Total bull crap. But I like my lock this week, Max. I'm locking them in. Gophers -3.5 at home. We've been a different team. This Sparty team is dead. The Gophers are going to come out, hold the lead. Sparty will score to make you think it might cover. Not going to. Gophers 28-20. They cover. I like the Gophers here.
I love the confidence. I hope that happens. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Georgia Bulldogs. They go to Florida. They're 7.5 point favorite. And we talked about this before the show. I know Georgia sometimes sleepwalks, but this is a big rivalry for these programs. Florida is just having a tough go this year. It could be one of those that's close at halftime and Georgia just pulls away, but I know it's at the Swamp too. I know that's always a
Yeah.
factor, but it's not supposed to be rainy. It's not supposed to be any other weather effects. So if Georgia can just take care of business, I think they can easily win by 10 or 14. So we're going to take the Bulldogs -7.5 points. And I don't think we got one from Spencer yet.
He
So we
said
will update
Tulane
that.
-5.5. I don't know who they
Ooh.
play. They're at UTSA. Ooh,
Yeah,
that's a
Thursday
scary
night.
one. That's a scary one.
No, I like that one.
I'm not questioning anybody's. Mine have been brutal. So Gophers, bail me
Unless
out here.
the only thing that actually turned me off from that game is because I've been hearing a lot of Summerall rumors to LSU,
Sure.
but I'm sure he will not be distracted.
Yeah. All right. Really quickly here, Max. Let's get through this. Week 10 games. Penn State at Ohio State was probably looking like maybe the game of the year preseason. It is not anymore. Ohio State at home is a 20.5 point favorite. Max, who you got here?
I'm going to take Penn State. Just hold your nose and take it, I guess. Hopefully they can have some pride and keep it within 3 scores.
Yeah, I hate that line, but I think Ohio State is looking to put it on after a bye. I think they were on bye last week, I believe. So, yeah, I think Ohio State at home is going to get it done. So I'll take the Buckeyes there. This is a good one. Vandy is at Texas. Texas is 2.5 point favorites against Vandy. Did Texas find magic there in that overtime late comeback? I don't know. I'm going to take Vandy in the upset just for the story. I have no idea. I don't feel good about it at all. I've been
Right.
terrible this year, so might as well keep it going. I'll take Vandy.
I'm going to take Vandy too. They've just been on a roll. Texas is trying to figure it out. I think Arch Manning got concussed in that game as well last week.
Might
So
be
I don't
a
know if he's
blessing in
back.
disguise for that
But
offense.
that's true. That could be a better thing for him. But I don't know. I'll take the fighting Diego Pavias
Yeah.
again.
All right, we got Oklahoma at Tennessee. Tennessee is a 3.5 point favorite. Here's the thing. I think this Tennessee team is only okay. Like, I think they've done a good job playing this year with losing their quarterbacks late, but I don't think they're, like, great. That being said, they do have it at home. I don't know. I'm going to take Tennessee, but at the same time, I feel like Oklahoma could just outright win, but I'm going to take Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm going to take Oklahoma in the points for that very
Yeah.
reason. So I think they could just outright win.
Yeah, it's just such a up and down team. It's interesting. USC at Nebraska. I think, Gopher game aside, I think this is the one I'm most interested in. USC at Nebraska. Nebraska 6.5 point underdogs at home against USC. Listen, I think USC is going to win the game, but I'll take Nebraska in the points at home. Like, USC has just been a different team away from the West Coast. I know they beat Michigan down, who was a tough team, but that was at home. I just don't trust USC on the road yet. I think Nebraska will put up points. So I'm going to take USC to win, but Nebraska to cover.
Yeah, I I agree with the road situation, but I just don't trust Nebraska, so I'm just gonna take
That's
USC
fair.
because it's such a big line too. It's like I don't know enough about this one to
Sure.
to take Nebraska.
All right, we got Cincinnati at Utah. Utah is 10.5 point favorites. I don't know if there's injuries involved in this, but I know Cincinnati has played really well as well. So I don't know if they'll be able to get the W in that tough environment, but I think that's enough points that they'll cover. So give me Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm taking Cincinnati too. This line baffles me
You
because
think
I
it's
know it's at
stinky?
Utah at night. Devin Dampier, I think he just got upgraded to probable with an ankle for Utah.
Mm,
Like, in what world
yeah,
is Utah a two-score favorite with a questionable quarterback? Like, I might be eating my words, but Cincinnati's look really good, so
yeah.
take the Bearcats. But it is Utah at night. Scary.
Nobody respects Utah at night more than Maxwell Lurking, ladies and gentlemen. He brings
I've seen it. I've seen it too
yeah,
much. Those Oregon games.
yeah. Oh man. All right, Gopher fans, that'll do it for this preview episode of Sky U Pod. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I would love to hear your thoughts. We discussed a wide variety of things. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Sparty game, what we talked about PJ's mindset versus Iowa, and Greg Harbaugh, just in general. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. So, yeah, we're on YouTube, X, Spotify, whatever you listen to. Be sure to check out our partners at thecollegehuddle.com for more podcasts and articles and all things college football. Thanks again, guys, and go Gophs.